If we open our market to you, you got to open ours to yours to us. And if you don't do it, forget about it. That's what you have to do. Because we're in an interdependent world. We can't forget that 2/3 of our jobs in the last 20 years have come from small business. And look, I think next to the health care law, most important bill the president signed is called the Dodd-Frank law. That law basically says we're not ever going to let Wall Street sink Main Street again. It says it gives the government the power to break up any bank, any mortgage company, any investment bank, anybody that gambles with your future. There's only the one thing really wrong with it, and that is it does not cover the same kind of behavior by hedge funds and billionaires who aren't part of any bank. So Hillary says we got to cover that. These people are playing the same games on the outside. But there is something that affects every Oklahoman, which is, and we've all done this, haven't we? Whenever you have a real problem, you fix it. And you dread having a problem again. So if you're not careful, you overfix it. Now that law says, that I told you about, it does not apply to community bank lending. But a lot of regulators have applied these rules to community bank lending. What's that got to do with you? Suppose you get out of high school, you want to open a bakery. Suppose you're a computer whiz, you got an idea for a new app, and you want to finance and develop that idea without having to give it away to somebody else. So you need to borrow $80,000. You go to the local bank. Your credit's good. If it costs that bank as much to process your $80,000 loan request as it does an $8 million or an $80 million loan request, they're not going to be near so many $80,000 loans. It's as simple as that. As far as I can tell, Hillary's the only person running for president who said, I will protect you from Main Street getting crashed by Wall Street, but I will free up the local banks to loan money to people in the community so we can have small businesses again. We got to grow together. We got to recognize that there are certain limits that keep people from being part of that. The other fellas, they want to build walls. Hillary says, I got a better idea. Let's build ladders of empowerment. And tear down the barriers. Let's tear barriers down. I'll just give you two. When I was president, we were in the top 10 in the world every year in the percentage of women in the workforce. I got more thanks from ordinary Americans for the family and medical leave law than any other bill I signed. But we are not now in the top 20. And the reason is we are one of only 7 countries in the entire world. All the others are small and low income. It doesn't give paid family leave when there's a baby born, or you got an autistic child that needs extra help, or your parents got Alzheimer's and you want to do right by them. If we had paid leave and finally adopted equal pay, we could get everybody in the workforce. And we'd grow together. We'd rise together. I'll give you another example. We need to finish the work started by President Obama on health care. First of all, we got to, in Oklahoma, we got to keep talking to our Republican friends till they finally accept Medicaid expansion. And look, I know a lot about this because my native state next door was the only state in the old Confederacy that took the Medicaid expansion. And guess what? Kentucky did too. We had the biggest drop of any 2 states in the percentage of people without insurance. we had lower rate increases. The state treasury made money because so many jobs were created that the taxes they paid was way greater than the 10% match for the Medicaid. And it held down the cost of everybody's insurance because none of you were paying for the uncompensated care hospitals always give to people who come in sick and broken with their lives at risk. And we want them to do that, but we need a system that you don't have to subsidize. We got to do that. Then we got to look at what the real problems are. Prescription drugs are still too high, and we ought to be able to bargain them down. The co-pays and deductibles are still too high, and the insurance market for small business doesn't work, and we got to fix it. There are fixes, but we don't want to pretend that works when it doesn't. It doesn't work. And we all need to pay for our health care by joining a plan where we pay every year a flat fee to stay healthy instead of paying by every separate procedure. If you're interested in this, go on the internet and look up the Mayo Clinic plan. Every place this has been done, every place, the health care quality goes up and the cost goes down. There's a group of doctors, hundreds of doctors in eastern Pennsylvania. If you enroll with them, you not only pay a flat fee, they say, if you go to the hospital and we care for you, and if for any reason related to the care we give, you have to go back to the hospital, which happens all the time, within 3 or 4 months, we pay 100% of the cost. It can be used to raise your premiums. It can be used to raise your copay. It can be used to raise your deductibles. Guess what? Their error rate has dropped to almost zero, and the health care has gone up. That's what we got to do. The other thing we got to do, next big barrier to participation is the cost of college. And let's just talk about this. You got this, you're dealing with this in Oklahoma now, this budget shortfall. So here's what happened. The economy collapses in 2008. Then we keep going downhill for several months. We're losing 800,000 jobs a month for a long time. We stopped it, we started back. Yeah, you can do that. You're right about that, but let's talk about what we're going to do in the future. So you got all these states, particularly those with Republican governors and legislators, they wanted to pretend like none of this happened, and they kept cutting taxes and, underfunding the schools. But they do have to, by law, fund the schools. They do have to, by law, keep the prisons open. That's another reason we need prison reform, get all these nonviolent offenders out. But what happened when that happened was, where's the money for the universities, for the public colleges and universities? So they had to deal with it by raising tuition, raising fees, raising the cost of staying there. And if you'd been running one, you probably would have too, because all the other money goes away. So what has happened is we still have the best higher education in the world. But because public colleges have been forced to act more like private colleges, the cost has gone up at 3 times the rate of inflation. And more people are graduating with debt. So we got to fix that. So here's what Hillary proposes to do. First of all, every American who goes to any public college, or to a historically black college and university, or to one that predominantly serves Native Americans or Latinos or any other minority or low-income people that has a reasonable tuition, everyone should be able to graduate debt-free. Now, how would they do that? Free tuition for those who need it, and more help for those on the lower incomes. For people who can afford to send their kids, they should do it. Everybody should have the option to work 10 hours a week and work study. It won't kill anybody to do that work. And it'll be good. You shouldn't pay for the tuition of wealthy people. I believe, and Hillary believes strongly, that those of us who've been more fortunate and have done pretty well since the crash, we should pay more in taxes so we can bring the other 80% of America into the future.